So there's something that the producers of Terminator Dark Fate can learn from Pulp Fiction, and that is you need boring characters to make interesting characters. But those boring characters shouldn't be the lead characters, and that's what's happening with Dark Fate. If you take Pulp Fiction example, you have this supporting character who's quite boring, but it makes the lead character appear interesting, and that is an essential part of all great movies. But when you look at Terminator Dark Fate, you see this. I have absolutely no idea what this is, and I'm going to call it Blandinator. And I cannot believe that this sort of image is now associated with Terminator. Terminator is one of the most innovative and greatest franchises of all time, yet it's been reduced to this. It's just unbelievable. This character is the most boring and bland character that I've ever seen. Now, if it was a supporting character, that would be understandable. But it's not. This character is supposed to be a lead character in a huge franchise, yet it looks so bland and boring. Now they've tried to apply this formal makeup and science to it, but there's nothing really compelling about it. It doesn't stand for anything. It's just this makeup, very clever makeup, that's all it is. It doesn't tell us anything interesting about this character. And when you look at the character and what this character does in the trailer, there's absolutely nothing new whatsoever. But when you look at Terminator 2, it was groundbreaking work. We'd never seen anything like this before in any movie. Yet the latest Terminator movie is just a pale comparison of many other movies taking place today, and it's so infuriating that this is what Terminator has come to. And later on in this video I'll explain why. I'll explain why this movie is going to be so boring. Now this isn't anything against Mackenzie Davis, but when you look at her character, there's no characterization. There's almost nothing there to be interested by. If you look at these images of the same actress, you can see there's some sort of character or something interesting. This image here, it appears intriguing. This image, it appears as if she's like drug-addled or going through a very difficult time in her life, but it's still interesting. Even down here, she seems to have some sort of attitude. And here, it's almost the opposite, where she seems to be quite happy or quite perky. But each of these characters has character. They appear interesting to look at. But when you go back to this, it's just dull and lifeless. And sadly, this is going to ruin Terminator for many years to come. And I have absolutely no idea what this weapon is supposed to be. It's just an iron bar. It's called a rebar and it's used in the construction industry. But why any Terminator would carry this as a weapon, I have no idea. And the reason is, this is like a toothpick to a Terminator. Now if you look at this image from the trailer, if this iron bar did hit any form of Terminator head on, it wouldn't really cause any form of damage. There's no logic behind this Terminator trying to use this as a weapon. And this is a Terminator, so it must know how powerful or how strong other Terminators are. So why would it try to use an iron bar as a weapon? It doesn't make any sense. It's like trying to use a pea shooter on a human. It's a complete waste of time. Now also this image from the trailer, why is a Terminator wearing some sort of body armour or bulletproof vest? That is not what Terminators do. This trailer has no logic and this character is just abysmal. This is the most washed out Terminator character I have ever seen, and it's just embarrassing to see that this is what Terminator has been reduced to. It is so infuriating. Now this is the key point of Terminator 1 and 2. Those movies were of their time. The Cold War was coming to an end. The first ever laptop was introduced. The first ever Microsoft was released in 1985. The first ever PlayStation was released in 1994. Each of these elements was of groundbreaking influence on the world. The end of the Cold War saw the end of the threat of nuclear war. That had a big impact on the psychology of many people. And these two movies were reflecting what was happening in the late 1980s and the early 1990s. Whereas Terminator today does not do that. We live in a very different time than what we did in the 1980s and the 1990s. If you take technology for example, and the way people perceived robots, in the 1980s people did see the concept of having killer robots. Whereas now we see robots as manufacturing robots or even robotic lawnmowers. We don't see robots as a threat, yet when robots were first being established and created and designed in the 1980s and 1990s, there were these headline stories of seeing robots as threats, and that is what Terminator 1 and 2 capitalised on. Those movies are of their time. Now today we live in a very different time. We live in an era of political correctness. Now if you look at Edward Furlong, he was only 14 when he made Terminator 1, and in Terminator 2 they featured a mental health hospital. That's almost impossible to do today. If they did this today, they would have many people complaining about how young children are being used in action movies or how women are being presented as having mental health issues. We live in a very different era to the original Terminator movies. And The Matrix is another example of capturing what was happening at that time. So this is the front cover of Time magazine in January 1999, and it had the end of the world where computers weren't able to turn over to the year 2000, and some people believed that nuclear weapons would be launched by computers by accident. And Matrix capitalised on that threat of technology that people perceived and made a great movie. If The Matrix was made today, it would still be a great movie, but it became a huge cultural phenomenon because it captured what was happening in 1999. But the problem is Terminator does not capture what is happening today. It does not capture the zeitgeist of what is happening. Now Pulp Fiction is another great example of a movie that captured the zeitgeist at the time. Pulp Fiction was labelled as a Generation X movie. Now zeitgeist, it means that the defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history as shown by the ideas and beliefs of the time. And Terminator Dark Fate does not do that. There is nothing compelling or current about Terminator Dark Fate. It is a lifeless, soulless movie, and now I'm going to explain to you why. And the reason is that Terminator Genisys actually made more money in China than what it did in America. Terminator Dark Fate is made for the Chinese market. That is why this movie is washed out. There's no characterization because they're launching Terminator into China. And that is the key reason why this movie is so boring. Now if you have your own opinion, please leave your comments below. But this movie, and particularly this character, is so boring and bland. And the reason is this movie is not made for you. It is made for China. So leave your comments below and also like and subscribe. Now if you like something more positive, I have made a video about ways that you can make money watching movies, reviewing movies, and also as a video game tester if you're interested in that. So I've actually made 2 videos. I'll leave links to both videos in the comments below. So if you want to check those out, you can do. But also leave your comments below. Just how excited or disinterested are you towards Terminator Dark Fate?